Can ideas from thousands of years ago actually have the power to change our lives today? I mean, really change them, maybe even save them? Well, today we're diving into a pretty incredible story that connects the dots between ancient Greek philosophy and a really revolutionary modern therapy. It's a journey that you'll see starts with a total crisis, but ends with this profound discovery about how we can manage our own mind. And that's the promise from Jules Evans, whose personal story is really the backbone of this whole explainer.
Well, we have to go back to the mid-1990s with a group of teenagers who are embarking on what Jules calls a very particular kind of scientific experiment.
When he says neuroscience, for Jules and his friends, the laboratory was their own minds. They were on this quest, testing out what different chemicals did to their own consciousness, basically every single weekend, just searching for something more.
Their experiments, they started with stuff like marijuana and LSD, but pretty soon it escalated. They were throwing just about everything into what he calls their neural chemistry. And yeah, they had some incredible, mind-bending experiences, but this chaotic self-experimentation was about to go really, really wrong.
And the fallout was just devastating. Jules' best friend had a full-on psychotic breakdown at just 16 years old and was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Others in the group developed depression and paranoia. And for Jules himself, it triggered the sudden start of these debilitating panic attacks and crippling social anxiety. He was just terrified that he'd permanently broken his own brain. So, after graduating from university, Jules completely hit rock bottom. He even took what he describes as a famously soul-crushing job as a financial journalist, reporting on the German mortgage bond market. He knew he had to get help. He ended up finding this do-it-yourself support group for social anxiety that met up every Thursday. There was no professional therapist there. Instead, the group just worked through an illegally downloaded cognitive behavioral therapy course, CBT, that they had found on the internet. They'd practice the exercises and just try to encourage each other. And the results? They were absolutely remarkable. For him, it just worked. Within a few weeks, the panic attacks were gone. He started to understand the actual mechanics of his own emotion, and crucially, how to transform them. And this sparked a brand new obsession. Where did this incredible therapy even come from?
So his search led him all the way to the founder of CBT, a psychologist named Albert Ellis. In 2007, Jules flew to New York to interview him. Ellis was 92 years old, and it actually turned out to be the last interview he ever gave. So Jules thanked him for saving his life, and then he asked him the big question: what was your inspiration? And the answer was a total shock. Ellis said he wasn't inspired by Freud or Jung or any modern psychology. He was inspired by his first love, ancient Greek philosophy, and specifically by this one line from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus.
And that one single idea from Epictetus, it became the foundation for this whole set of practical, powerful tools for understanding and managing our minds. So let's break down the core parts of this Stoic toolkit that Ellis adopted for CBT. So this model completely reframes how we think about our emotion. We usually think we go straight from A, the activating event, to C, the consequence emotion. But Ellis and the Stoics say, hold on, there's a hidden step in the middle, B, your belief about the event. You believe they think I'm an idiot, and that belief is what's actually causing the feeling of being hurt. And I love this metaphor because it perfectly illustrates the problem. We all have this running commentary in our heads, right? It's making judgments and interpretations all day long, and we just assume it's telling us the truth. But a lot of the time, it's way more like a sensationalist 24-hour news channel. It's distorted, it's biased, and it's always jumping to the worst possible conclusion without ever checking the facts. The whole key is to start questioning that inner voice. And this idea builds on another core Stoic principle. The philosopher Epictetus, who was himself born a slave, developed this as a principle for achieving inner freedom. He argued that the real secret to resilience lies in making a simple but incredibly profound distinction.
Epictetus basically argued that most of our misery comes from confusing these two columns. We either try to control things in that left column, like what other people think of us, which is totally impossible, or we do the opposite and we fail to take responsibility for the things in the right column, our beliefs, our choices, our actions, and we blame everything on the outside world.
But here's the thing, right? Just having a light bulb moment isn't enough to really change you. The ancient Greeks knew this, and modern therapists definitely know it. If these powerful ideas are actually going to make a difference, they can't just be theories we think about. They have to become deeply ingrained habits. So the ancients developed these really concrete exercises.
They used maxims, short, memorable phrases like know thyself, and they would repeat them until they became automatic thoughts, which is a lot like using affirmations in CBT. They kept journals to track their progress and identify their negative patterns, and they did fieldwork, actually practicing their philosophy in real-world situations, which is literally the behavioral part of cognitive behavioral therapy.
So all of this brings us to a really important question. If CBT is the modern, evidence-based version of all these ancient ideas, and you can get it through National Health Services, do we even need to bother going back to the original Greek philosophy anymore?
Well, the argument is a resounding yes, for two big reasons. First, the original works. They're not just self-help manuals. They are masterpieces of literature, they're beautiful, and that beauty makes their wisdom incredibly persuasive. But maybe more importantly, while CBT is an amazing tool for fixing specific emotional problems, it kind of leaves out the bigger questions, about virtue and meaning and what it actually means to live a good life.
And this is where philosophy really shines. It doesn't give us one single scientific formula for happiness. Instead, it offers this rich dialogue with a bunch of different answers, and it challenges us to think for ourselves about what kind of life is truly worth living.
So in the end, while CBT can give you the tools to fix what's broken, philosophy encourages us to ask the bigger questions. It's not just about getting through the day without anxiety. It's about asking what you want that day and your entire life to actually stand for. And that's a question worth pondering.
Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content we make, press like and subscribe to our channel.